The Giants-Vikings rivalry dates all the way back to the early 1960s when Minnesota joined the NFL as an expansion franchise. The two teams squared off for the first time in 1964 at Yankee Stadium, and despite a 100-yard kickoff return by New York's Clarence Childs, the Vikings would beat the Giants behind the strong play of their star quarterback.
And let's take our hats off to Minnesota's elusive Fran Tarkenton. The Viking quarterback does a fantastic job of eluding tacklers. And that's the way it went for the 1964 New York Giants.
But in 1967, the history of both franchises would become intertwined forever when Minnesota traded the scrambling Tarkenton to the Giants. New York had just finished the prior season in the basement of the NFL with only 1 win and 12 losses.
The Giants were delighted to welcome football's most animated quarterback, but obtaining him from the Vikings exacted a steep price.
We gave them the #1 pick for that given year coming up, and the following year the #1 pick. And the same thing with the #2, the #2 for that year and the following year. And said, we're going to get Tarkenton. If we get to be a better ball club, it'll be worth it to us.
That team in New York, that first year that I was there, we finished 7-7. That was the finest accomplishment of any of my 18 years of professional football. They was a ragamuffin team that played hard and played together, had heart and had soul. Allie did a great job with that team. And for us to be 7-7 was like being 14-0 with any other team. It was the best year any team that I played on had ever had. We spread the field, we put men in motion, we had nobody in the backfield. And the reason we had to do this is that we didn't have a big offensive line. So we had to use the short passing game to be our running game. The West Coast offense, as we know it today, was absolutely started in New York, and they let me be a part of that architecture, and we had more fun with it.
Many people have asked me how I got started scrambling. Well, really, I think it all started when I used to watch NFL football on television. And I used to watch the quarterbacks go back and throw from the pocket 7 yards deep. And if things were going right, they would throw the ball, get their completions, and usually their team would win. My philosophy has always been if I have a rush and my linemen do break down occasionally, which all of them do break down sometime, then I will try to get out of the pocket and move around and try to find an opening and a receiver downfield and still get something out of the play. We really didn't have a scramble offense, although people accused us of it. We never practiced the scramble because really we only use the scramble maybe 3 times a game on an average. Many people don't believe this because when they see films of me playing football, they always see the films of me in a scramble situation. But actually I would scramble an average of 3 times a game and throw from the a set position something like 24 or 25 times a game. But it was a weapon for us, and sometimes it was effective, and sometimes, like anything, it wasn't as effective as we would have liked.
In the first game of the 1969 season, the Giants hosted the Vikings. Trailing 23-10 in the fourth quarter, Tarkenton threw 2 touchdown passes to secure a 24-23 comeback victory over his former team. The 1969 win marked the only time that the Giants would beat the Vikings in their first 7 meetings. During his time in New York, Fran would develop a strong chemistry with tight end Bob Tucker.
You know, his job was to go, get on the field. He worked closely with the line. He was the general. He knew where he wanted attacked, why he wanted to attack it. He always had a reason for everything he wanted to do. I mean, in those days, he called his own plays. And we had a good offensive scheme, and we were up and down the field. I mean, we were geared to score in 6, 8, 10 plays. So he was able to find what was exposed and hit on it. He did all this scrambling. I mean, in the early times, I would run my pass pattern, look around, and, where is he? And he'd be running back 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards behind the field, and I'm running this way, now back. And he would just run in circles, and he just kept the pass play alive. He was always in the game, no matter where you were, you knew this guy, he was in the game. He was thinking all the time, he was trying to score.
In an ironic twist, the Giants would trade Tarkenton back to the Vikings in 1972. With Tarkenton back manning the helm for Minnesota, the Vikings would win the next 2 meetings with Big Blue in the 1970s, but the rivalry would go dormant for a full decade until the 2 teams met once again in the Giants' championship season of 1986. In Week 11 against the Minnesota Vikings, The Giants had their backs against the wall as time was running out.
Third down. Giants trail by a point. Starting to come a little more clear.
They're after him. They got him. Back.
All the way back to the 48 of the Giants. 1:12 on the clock. Fourth down upcoming.
It was my favorite game of my career.
Sims goes over to talk to Parcells and company.
We went back to probably maybe one of the first plays we installed in training camp. I knew I told Bobby Johnson, Bobby, don't fall asleep over there, because we never threw it to him in that play.
4th and 17, 2 receivers left, 1 on the right. McConkey comes in motion to the right-hand side.
I had to stay in and block, and I thought I saw 2 guys come in, and I wasn't sure which one I had, so I think I kind of tried to do both, and I didn't get any.
And Phil took a really big hit there from Millard.
Sims drops back to the 40.
I think Sims got rid of the ball just in time before, my guy sacked him.
And to throw the football when it leaves your hand, I knew it was perfect.
Sims drops back to the 40. Sims throws. Completed. He's in. Yes, at the 30-yard line. First down. What a catch by Johnson.
There was never a sense of doom and gloom on that 86 team. We always had the sense that we were going to do it,
Snap, set, the ball is up. Good. The Giants have put it through. Wow, you talk about a ball game.
On a cold day in January, this rivalry would be renewed with New York and Minnesota meeting at Giant Stadium in the 1993 NFC wildcard game. In a smash-mouth affair between two of the league's best defensive teams, both squads dished out some serious punishment. But the Vikings would strike the first blow.
Back to Graham, double tight end. Makes the handoff, bootlegs right. He might run. He's going to throw long, way down. It is complete touchdown.
I look at the Minnesota game and the playoff game when we was behind, and after halftime we came in and everything started clicking. The running game started clicking, found some creases and bust some long runs.
Hampton gets the call, going right, finds a hole right, gets the cross for 40, 35, he's down the right side, he might score! Touchdown! Of brilliant blocking and brilliant running by Hampton.
I probably had over 150 yards and scored 2 touchdowns in the second half.
Hands off, Hampton inside the 5. Touchdown!
We got a couple turnovers, and defense was solid like always, and, we won a football game.
So it's 4th down. Sacked by Hamilton. McMahon again struggling to his feet.
Great effort by LT and Keith Hamilton, and these fans are got to be thrilled at the turnaround season that Dan Reeves and his coaching staff have given them. Tremendous game and a great victory.
4 years later, the playoff setting would be the same, as the Giants once again hosted the Vikings in the 1997 wildcard game.
It's game time! That's what time it is! That's what time it is! It is game time! That's what it is! They go 3! 1, 2, 3!
Now on a play action, rolls to his right, looks to the end zone. Touchdown! Aaron Pierce makes a sliding grab, and the Giants widen their lead, and the fans go wild. Looking for Carter, intercepted by Sehorn. What a play by Jason! Maynard to hold, high snap, gets it down. Delwiso's got plenty of distance, ball on its way, and it is good! Delwiso connects from 52 yards out with 13 seconds to go in the half, and the Giants take a 19-3 lead.
For nearly 3 quarters, they dominated their Midwestern foes and appeared well on their way to the next round of the playoffs when disaster struck.
Throws left toward the end zone. Touchdown, Jake Brown.
That was one of the worst losses of that I can remember. They came back on us. I don't know how many points they scored in that fourth quarter. I don't remember, but it was crazy.
You know what you're going to see now, folks? The onside kick.
It comes to the near side left, and it looks like the Vikings may have recovered it. They have. Takes the snap, gets it down, the kick is up, and good. Disgust on the Giants sideline.
It was very upsetting because I know how hard we had worked, and I thought we really did have the defense to go all the way. And it was just one of those things where we weren't able to be successful that day. But that was a tough loss, and I felt like if we didn't learn anything from this loss, we had to do something about it the next year.
The rivalry would reach its boiling point in the 2000 NFC Championship game.
The towels are waving, the fans are fired up. 60 minutes from the Super Bowl. Will it be the Vikings or the New York Giants?
We knew that they had to come in here and play us. So we felt like if we got them out there on that field in that cold weather, we had them.
Collins back, steps up over the middle, and he's got a man. It's Hilliard to the 5, touchdown! 46 yards down the left side. I want to be like Hank. He's got 6.
And what a perfectly thrown pass by Collins.
He said that we'll score 100 points against them. We're going to score almost every time we touch the ball. So get ready. You're going to be tired. We're going to run it up on them.
Throwing down the right side. It's got Camilla. Touchdown!
Crowd is sensing blood in the water.
Before Minnesota this offense has ever stepped on the field, the Giants have 13 points.
In the moment that we scored the first touchdown, and they got stopped, and then we scored another touchdown, it could have literally been 100-0 if we had tried.
This game is over. This game was over in the first quarter. I told these guys in the first quarter, hey, Giants can't be beat, and Minnesota may not score.
Keep them off the board. Keep them off the scoreboard.
24-0 was like really the comfort zone because I felt like if we got 24 points, we knew we could control them defensively. So that's when I kind of started thinking we're heading to the big show.
Quarterback Kerry Collins would have a game for the ages, tearing apart the Minnesota secondary.
Lobs it back corner of the end zone for Toomer. He's got a touchdown! Oh, what a play by Collins! He just outworked the defensive back, Robert Tate.
Collins' 5 touchdown passes in a playoff game still stands as a Giants record.
Great job. Thank you. Unbelievable. Thanks for everything. Hey, put it on your shoulders and you get it right on through there.
The Vikings on the near side glancing up at the scoreboard. A bit shocked.
A couple looks I got that everybody was ready to go home, so it was a good feeling.
The final score, the Giants 41, the Vikings nothing. Super Bowl, here we come.
The 2000 NFC Championship game marks the greatest performance by any Giants team in the history of the old stadium, from its opening in 1976 to its closing in 2009. And fittingly, the Giants owner and patriarch would be on hand to celebrate the victory with his team.
I just felt like they had invested a lot in us. You know, the core group of guys that they kept together, they believed in us. And it was just good to see him up there holding that trophy.
This is the Giant team that was referred to as the worst team ever to win the home field advantage in the National Football League. And today, on this field of painter's mud, we proved that we're the worst team ever to win the National Football Conference Championship. And I'm happy to say that in 2 weeks we're going to try to become the worst team ever to win the Super Bowl.
New York and Minnesota have been battling each other on the gridiron for the last half-century. The Vikings lead the all-time series with 16 wins to the Giants' 12, but New York holds a 2-1 advantage in the postseason. In the 2010 season, the Giants were scheduled to play in Minnesota, but when the Metrodome ceiling collapsed under the weight of 17 inches of snow from a recent storm, the Giants' travel plans changed. After spending a night in Kansas City, the team flew to Detroit, where the game had been rescheduled. The Giants would show no signs of jet lag, though, as their ground game pounded the Vikings all night long.
Handoff, Jacobs bounces it left to the outside. Jacobs to the 20, down the left sideline, 30, up to the 40, across midfield, needs a block to the 40, 35-30, tripped up at the 20, keeps his feet, finally tackled. Brandon Jacobs with the longest run of his career, 73 yards. Manning handoff, Jacobs into the end zone, touchdown Giants.
With old gunslinger and legendary quarterback Brett Favre watching from the sidelines, the Giants defense would sack Tavares Jackson 4 times on the evening.
Jackson in the shotgun set. Takes the snap, Giants send a blitz. Jackson's gonna get sacked, Barry Cofield gets him this time. Manning out of the gun. Steps up, throws it to the end zone for Boss. Did he make the catch? Yes, touchdown! Kevin Boss made one heck of a catch.
Running back Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw would each run for over 100 yards and a touchdown to carry New York to victory.
Handoff, Bradshaw slips through a hole and he's gone. 35-30, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Ahmad Bradshaw.
In Week 7 of the 2013 season, the Vikings invaded MetLife Stadium to face a Giants team that was still looking for its first win of the year.
Oh, lot on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Manning takes the snap, back to throw. Sidearms one left sideline, and it's caught for the touchdown by Reuben Randall. Jumped right over the defender, Chris Cook. It's 24 yards, and the Giants are back in front.
I mean, I love it. I love it. Huh?
The defense stifled running back Adrian Peterson and held the Vikings offense to just 206 total yards.
Play fake, Freeman back to throw, under pressure, heaves it downfield, intercepted by Rowe at the 5. Front left to the 15, cuts right back to the 20, looking for a block up to the 30. Chased by Jennings and dragged down there. Montrell Roll dropped the pick on the last possession, gets one there.
They might come in 3. That's how you feel. Great play. That's how you feel. Way to get off the field. I feel like I feel it. Way to get off the field, baby.
And the special teams would set up the Giants' final score.
Good high climbing punt near sideline. Sherrills fields it at the 11. Gets past Diassi. Ball came loose. It's on the ground. Diassi dives on it. 2nd and goal at the 1. Handoff, Hillesy runs left, stood up at the line, and then falls in for the touchdown. The final score of the New York Giants, 23, the Minnesota Vikings, 7.
The Vikings went on to win their next 2 meetings against the Giants in Minneapolis. And the 2 franchises would be linked once again when Pat Shurmur left his offensive coordinator position in Minnesota to become the new head coach of the Big Blue in 2018. With a new era underway in Giants football, New York will look to top Minnesota in the latest installment of the Giants-Vikings rivalry.
Hey Giants fans, Saquon Barkley here. You want to see more videos? Subscribe below.